I'm now joined by Gerald Page, Equinox Energy Partner Founder. He's come all the way from Beijing. Welcome.
Thank you.
What brings you to the Governor's Global Climate Summit?
Well, it's an interesting summit, the road to Copenhagen, coming up in December. There'll be a lot of very interesting people here. California, as you know, has been a voluntary leader in over a number of years under the governor's programs. And it's a great gathering of people at this time of, in end of September, early October, a couple of months before, the big decisions in Copenhagen on climate change.
Absolutely. What would you hope would be accomplished at this summit?
I really think it's a sharing of what we've learned and what we haven't learned, and there was a China panel today. There's a lot of lessons to be learned from China, and China has a lot to learn from the United States. So it's really a sharing of best practices from around the world and what works and why it works. So if we can accomplish that and come away with seeing what programs work in the world and why they work, and learn from those and then implement them when we go home, then that would be a successful conference.
Tell me a bit about your company, Equinox Energy Partners. What are you involved in?
We went over originally to invest in wind in Inner Mongolia. From there, we've looked at wastewater treatment. There's 25,000 towns in China that don't have any wastewater treatment. So water's an issue. Smart grid technologies. Solar obviously has been a large sector, although we haven't invested in that sector yet. It's one that we're looking at. Electric vehicles, clearly in the next 5 or 6 years will be significant. And then in the wind sector, where we've been talking about those numbers.
Finally, I want to just kind of end with a more general question. What do you think is the single most important thing we can all do collectively to combat climate change?
I really think with all the things we're talking about in clean tech and renewable energy, it's still small in comparison to deforestation. Cutting down the rainforests in Indonesia, Brazil.
You mentioned the Congo earlier as well.
Yeah, Congo in Africa. These are the areas where we still have large rainforests left. But rainforests contribute between 18 and 20% of all emissions. So, dealing with those programs, going into Copenhagen, ratifying the RED program of rainforest emission, deforestation, and degradation. It's a tricky policy to ratify on that element. That's apart from the clean development mechanism. That by far would be the largest contribution we could make to reducing global warming.
Well, there you have it, people. Deforestation, one that we must definitely be aware of. Gerald, thank you so much for your time.
Sarah, thank you much for inviting me to speak.
Thanks.